The SNP's bid for a second independence referendum may not be as justified as Nicola Sturgeon is making it out to be, according to a Scottish Tory MSP. Nicola Sturgeon has confirmed the SNP will make the case for a second Scottish independence referendum at the 2021 Holyrood elections. This comes after support for independence consistently outpaced support for the Union across a number of polls for the first time in Scottish polling history, experts claim. However, this rise in support may not actually be reflected in support for a second referendum, Scottish Tory MSP Miles Briggs has told Express. He said, "In Scotland, it feels like we've been stuck in a loop on this." Hours after the actual election result, the SNP didn't really accept what it was as they had described, a once-in-a-generation referendum. Some growing support for independence has maybe been registered. There's not necessarily been growing support for another referendum to be held anytime soon. Mr. Briggs continued, "I think we need to disassociate those two things. I don't think there's some great support for another referendum. There might be people saying they might support independence. I do think it feels like we've been on a broken record from the nationalists." The MSP added, partly because they have to keep promoting this to their base, the base of activists that built up over this period of time, obviously frustrated and frustrating for another referendum. So a lot of political cycle in Scotland has purely been around a referendum. I don't pick up any great support for independence in my own region, or for another referendum. Mr. Briggs also told Express, "It's certainly something the SNP have managed to politicize in a way, even during this pandemic, to attract support. The Brexit vote potentially influenced a reaction during this period when people who didn't want to see Brexit in Scotland are now registering support for independence." Support for Scottish independence now stands at 54% compared with 46% support for the Union, according to a commissioned Panelbase poll. Panelbase also found that the SNP are expected to win over 53% of the constituency vote in the 2021 Holyrood election. The First Minister called the election the most important in Scotland's history.